Well, hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the From Chaos to Peace podcast, where I talk about how clutter is so much more than you think, and we put a spiritual twist on clearing that clutter to get organized. Thank you so much for allowing me back into your ears. Well, hello, my friend. I'm your host, Conny Graf. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed the Easy Listening Summer 2025 episode. Next week is already September, and I'm really a bit bummed, and I admit I have a hard time letting go of summer. Summer is my absolute favorite time of the year, and another summer has passed now. So for some reason, I'm very aware lately of the limited amount of summers I will be still able to experience here on my beloved property, but also in general. I'm getting older. Okay, I try to enjoy my time to the best of my abilities, and I don't want to pull you down or anything. I just want to encourage you to also enjoy your time to the best of your abilities, despite the fact that the world is really crazy out there. So anyways, my goal with my podcast is always that you take away one small mindset shift that helps you go from chaos to peace. And today, I want to talk about the power of words again and the clutter in our minds, the bully, a frequent visitor in my coaching sessions with my clients, but also in my own life. Okay, so have you ever noticed how the words we use, especially the words in our own head or that the bully throws at us, that they can either lift us up or wear us down? I talked before about how powerful the words are that we say to ourselves in episode 216 called "You Can't Should Your Way to Peace," and how I try very intentionally to keep the word should out of my vocabulary. Maybe you do that too. It's very healthy, but not always easy because we're so used to use the word should. I should do this, I should do that. But I'm not talking about the word should today. Today I want to talk with you about the words self-improvement and self-development. And on first sight, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with them. They seem harmless, right? That's what I thought all the time. But this episode is for you if you ever felt like no matter how hard you try to improve yourself, it doesn't feel like enough. So the other day I came across a video on YouTube by Joe Hudson. I don't know whether you know him. He's this very famous executive coach. And I came across him a few months back, and I really like him. And he talked about the problem he has and he sees in his practice with the words self-improvement and self-development. So I was immediately intrigued because, like I said, at first I thought they were harmless, but because I respect him, I wanted to hear more and why he has this video up about these words. Also, I do want to improve myself, and I do want to develop myself. I do want to grow as a person, also in my spiritual work, but in my professional work as a human being, as a friend. I do want to grow. I do want to improve. And you do hear me often say that, in my eyes, living a clutter-free life does involve personal growth. And that I did call self-development and self-improvement in the past. But now listening to Joe, I can see how these two words, can create more mental and emotional clutter for us. That wasn't my intention at all. And possibly you don't even notice it either if you have used these words or if you have heard me say these words. Because I sure didn't notice it until Joe called it out. And now I can see it. And actually, I was just talking today with a client on our coaching call about outside perspective and how we can see certain things so much better from an outside perspective than when we're sitting in it. So this is just a little side note. So basically what Joe Hudson says is that self-improvement, the word self-improvement or the concept of self-improvement is problematic because it's viewed as another form of attack on ourselves of abuse of ourselves. He instead advocates for the words self-understanding and self-awareness. Learning to understand yourself better without the pressure of having to get better or the fear of failing, because you could fail at self-improvement, right? At least that's what he claims, and I can totally see how that's true. So there is no getting better or failing when we're saying we want to just learn to understand ourselves better or being more self-aware. Instead, he says there is experimenting what works for us and what doesn't. And again, I can totally see where he's coming from, and I'm so grateful that I came across this perspective. Because I can see how my own inner bully has used the concept of self-improvement and self-development against myself by beating myself up because I'm not perfect. Or the bully says that I'm not as improved as I should be, not as successful as I should be, not as kind of a human being as I should be, that I should be more improved, more developed, right? So when we look at hiring a coach or a therapist, for example, if we do that from the perspective of self-improvement because we feel the need to get better, then we're actually bullying ourselves. Joe says the problem with self-improvement is that it's just more abuse. Yeah, more abuse of ourselves. Free range for the bully. Whereas if you just realize and understand who you are, the same way you would understand how to use a computer, he says, things actually start working better. And while I do believe that our soul is here on earth to evolve, and that life is unfolding for the evolution of our soul, as Michael Singer puts it, we can do that without blame, shame, and beating ourselves up, but rather with curiosity, self-compassion, presence, and patience. And it all starts with language, what words we use, and how we speak to ourselves and about ourselves. By the way, Joe Hodson is not alone in this opinion. When I ask Chatty, and that's how I call ChatGPT when I'm having discussions with it. So I asked Chatty whether there's other gurus or thought leaders that have a similar opinion like Joe Hodson and that are talking about the concept of self-improvement being abusive. Chatty came up with a few people that I've honestly haven't heard about, but they apparently talk about it too. So there is a person called Ray Williams who is writing on Medium, and he observed that self-criticism, often masked as self-improvement, can significantly damage self-esteem and lead to shame rather than real growth. And psychologist Sven Brinkman, who is the author of Stand Firm, directly criticizes Western self-help culture. He argues that the obsession with self-optimization often leads to disconnection, pressure, and never-ending chase for impossible standards, sometimes at the cost of peace and contentment. Well, Chatty also came up with some bloggers that write on Reddit, on Medium, or on their own website about the same topic. I'm not going to all mention them here. Also, I wanted to mention that I didn't necessarily need more voices to support Joe Hodson's opinion, because I actually agree with Joe full-heartedly. It really landed in my body. And then I realized that not without reason, I talk so often about letting go of mental and emotional clutter, using decluttering as a tool for self-love, and not shooting yourself, and not beating yourself up. So while I was in one way talking about it, that it is what I help my clients with, or what I stand for, is to go on a journey from chaos to peace, to discover self-love and self-care and make things easier for us. I still had the words self-improvement in my vocabulary, right? And yeah, now that I'm made aware of that, this is just another way of talking to us in a negative way. It's similar to the word should. So now, of course, I will try to be very mindful of not using that word, but using more the words self-understanding and self-awareness. And I am on a good way towards that, right? Like, I really want to make sure I'm not saying that whatever I said in the past was just was just based on self-improvement, and that I was actually trying to beat myself and possibly even my clients up, which is totally not true, right? Because as you also may remember, but if you're new here, you might not know or not remember, but I also created a quiz that helps you actually figuring out what your dominant energy is, your dominant element, which in turn, when you know that, helps you understand yourself better. So I am actually on the right track. I'm just using, or have been using, words that I'm now became aware of that they're maybe not so ideal. So yes, I agree. We don't want to strive for self-improvement or self-optimization. Instead, we want to cultivate awareness and curiosity about ourselves and learn about ourselves, how we tick, where we sabotage ourselves, whether that's with words or with actions, and where we can support ourselves better by acknowledging how we tick and what works for us and what doesn't. And from a place of self-love and self-respect, not by listening to the bully that tells us we're not good enough, right? Take a few days or a few hours to contemplate this mindset shift and how important words are. You can also go back to episode 216 and listen again what I say about the word should. And I think the word should we use even more. But language is really, really powerful. That's basically one of the main messages. There's most likely, or certainly, more words than should and self-optimization and self-development that are not really kind, right? But those are a start. So ask yourself, where do you use them? Are you use them intentionally? Are you using them to beating yourself up? Or are you seriously curious about what would work for you and what wouldn't? And are you on that journey from chaos to peace to figure that out? And if you like this theme and you want to hear more on this topic of self-understanding, you can also listen to episode 162, which is called Understand Yourself, Why You're Doing What You're Doing. Or episode 235, Your Natural Blueprint, The Key to Understanding Yourself. Those are both past episodes from me where I talk about understanding yourself. Okay, my friend, that's it for today. This is today's little mindset shift. Let it sink in. We're not on a self-improvement journey. We are on a journey to discover ourselves, to learn about ourselves, to better understand ourselves. I'm right here with you. Thanks so much for listening all the way to the end, and thank you so much. And talk to you next time. Take good care and be safe. Bye for now.